Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So a quick preview for Gennady Golovkin versus Kamil Szeremeta and the card as a whole. Essentially we shall run through each fight on the card and I'll give you my 2 cents on each fight. Now this card goes down on Friday, the 18th of December, so this weekend. In the UK, this fight is going to be televised on DAZN, and also in the US, it shall be televised on DAZN. So yeah, let's briefly run through this card. The main event, Gennady Golovkin versus Kamil Szeremeta. Not the most mouth-watering fight that you've ever heard of. Kamil Szeremeta, he's not a proven middleweight. His accolades so far is being a European champion at 160, but he's not really got a standout resume. He's never really beat anybody of any consequence. He actually is the IBF mandatory right now. How he's got that position, I've got no idea. As far as I'm aware, he's never actually fought a final eliminator, so he's very fortunate to be in this position, but here he is. He's a mandatory. It is what it is. Looking at Kamil Szeremeta, he's not the biggest puncher in the world. I believe he's only got 5 knockouts in 21 wins. Something along those lines. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, 5 knockouts in 21 wins. If you look at his resume, not really beat anybody of any consequence. You would say his best wins are over Ruben Diaz and Andrew Franchulite. Those were European title fights. But he's not really fought at a high level at all. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he's not proven. Stylistically, he's more of like a textbook boxer. Doesn't really do much wrong per se, but he doesn't do anything great. Just a standard fundamental fighter. But from what I see, he doesn't really pose any threats to Gennady Golovkin. Even this version of Gennady Golovkin, who in my opinion is on the slide. Gennady Golovkin should be too powerful for him, too ferocious. And I just can't see Kamil Szeremeta keeping Gennady Golovkin at bay. He certainly can't hurt Golovkin. As we know, Golovkin's got a monster chin. He's taken some big punches in his career. And Kamil Szeremeta doesn't really have the power to put a dent in Golovkin. And I don't believe he's got the ability to outbox Golovkin, even a 38-year-old Golovkin. So I fully expect Golovkin to win this fight and win it comfortably. I expect him to look good. And I think that's what he needs right now. He can't really afford to be slipping up here and, you know, looking poor. He needs to put on a statement to really get his name back out there. It's been a long while since Golovkin fought. Golovkin last fought October 2019. That was against Sergey Derevyanchenko. Extremely hard fight, a very close fight. And a lot of people after that fight weren't impressed with his performance. A lot of people were saying he was slipping on the slide, etc. So in this fight, he really needs a statement performance. He needs to score a knockout, and I fully expect him to do so. I think he's going to do it relatively early, maybe in rounds 4 to 5, something like that. I just don't envisage Kamil Szeremeta being able to really trouble Golovkin. I don't see what he can do in this fight to really have any success. He might land a few shots here and there, but he doesn't have the power, and he doesn't have the quality to keep Golovkin off of him. So yeah, I fully expect Golovkin to win this fight by stoppage, and hopefully after this we see Gennady Golovkin in a big fight, because this is not the sort of fight I want to see Golovkin in, particularly at this stage of his career. 38 years old. I believe he's got maybe 3-4 fights left on his DAZN deal after this fight. So hopefully those fights are against name opponents, you know. So yeah, this fight, as far as I'm concerned, is a mismatch. And yeah, I back Gennady Golovkin by knockout in this one, and relatively early. So the main event, not the strongest in the world, but it is Gennady Golovkin. You know, he's one of the most fun fighters one of the most fun fighters in the sport of boxing. So I'll watch it, but not one of those fights I'm necessarily, you know, really looking forward to. But also on the undercard, you've got Ali Akhmedov versus Carlos Gongora. Now this fight on paper looks relatively interesting. I know a lot more about Ali Akhmedov than I do Carlos Gongora, but Ali Akhmedov to me looks a real good prospect at 168. Good boxer puncher, works the body well, carries power, does the basics extremely well. I believe he's actually signed under Gennady Golovkin's promotional company. And yeah, I think the guy's a talented fighter. Now his opponents, who I'm not really all that aware of, I believe actually was a pretty good amateur. Let's have a quick look at him. 1 second. Carlos Gongora, so yeah, based out of Ecuador, and as you can see, 18 wins, 13 knockouts, fought in the World Series of Boxing, which is always a good sign. Only decent amateurs get to fight in the World Series of Boxing, and as you can see, he beat Terrell Gausha, who's a pretty good fighter, and he also beat Yamaguchi Falcao, who's a pretty solid fighter and was a good amateur. In the amateurs, again, let's have a look at his amateur record. Yeah, again, a pretty good amateur from what we can see. You know, fought in the Olympics in not in the Olympics, sorry. He fought in the Olympics in London in 2012. So, yeah, I mean, Carlos Gongora looks like a decent enough fighter, unbeaten record. I have to say I've not seen too much of him, so I can't really judge too much. But on paper, I would say this is a relatively decent fight for Ali Akhmedov. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I'll be interested to see what Carlos Gongora has, because I've not really seen much of him. And I rate Ali Akhmedov relatively highly, so I'm looking forward to this one here. This should be a fun fight, so watch out for that one. We also have the return of John Ryder. He is going to be fighting journeyman Mike Guy. Now, John Ryder, of course, is coming off that fight against Callum Smith last year. I believe that was last November. Many people, including myself, felt John Ryder won that fight. I felt he got jobbed. And, you know, quite frankly, it's been a shame that John Ryder hasn't had any push after that fight. He put on a great performance, should have won as far as I'm concerned, and I believe he should have been rewarded for that performance. But here we are, he's fighting Mike Guy. I'm very disappointed for John Ryder. Eddie Hearn was talking about fights like David Lemieux or Fedor Chudinov. They would have been good fights for John Ryder at this stage. But we've gone from Lemieux to Chudinov to Mike Guy. So really not a satisfying opponent in my opinion. Mike Guy, he's quite a tough journeyman. He's not like a complete scrub. You know, he plays his role quite well as like a journeyman. But, you know, John Ryder should beat this guy relatively comfortably. Just basically a tune-up fight for John Ryder. I feel for him, to be honest. I was expecting a lot more for him. But here we are. He's fighting Mike Guy. Again, not really impressed with that at all. You've got a female fight between Hyun Mi Choi and Calista Silgado. Not interested, as you guys know. The welterweight prospect Reshet Mati is fighting on the card. He looks like a pretty decent prospect. Seems to punch pretty hard. He's got a fun style to watch. But again, he's not really fighting anybody of any consequence. That is what it is. I'll watch him, I'll check him out. But yeah, we all know the result of that fight. And also we've got a prospect by the name of Jalen Walker. Never heard of this dude. Let's have a quick look at him. But yeah, Jalen Walker is scheduled on the card. I've never seen him before, so we'll see what this guy looks like. But yeah, ultimately that's the card as a whole. Quite frankly, not a strong card as far as I'm concerned. A pretty one-sided main event. We all expect the result in that one. We all believe Gennady Golovkin's going to win. I think the best fight on the card on paper is Ali Akhmedov versus Carlos Gongora. I'm actually quite interested in that fight. I'll do a bit more research on Carlos Gongora in the days leading up to this fight. But yeah, not the strongest card you're ever going to see. But it is what it is. We're all boxing fans. I'm sure we'll check it out. Share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one.